I'll write one more chapter before I go to bed. Sideways Stories from Wayside School. This is chapter number 12, and it is called Jason. Jason had a small face and a big mouth. He had the second biggest mouth in Miss Jules' class. There were an awful lot of big mouths in that class. Mrs. Jules, Jason called without raising his hand. Joy is chewing gum in class. Joy has the biggest mouth in Mrs. Jules' class, and it was always filled with gum. There was hardly even room for her tongue. Joy, I'm ashamed of you, said Mrs. Jules. I'm afraid I'll have to put your name up on the board. That's okay, Mrs. Jules, Jason called. I'll do it. And Jason hopped out of his seat and wrote Joy's name on the blackboard under the word discipline. While he was up, Joy took a glob of gum out of her mouth and placed it on Jason's chair. Rondi and Allison giggled. Jason walked back from the blackboard to his desk and sat down. Mrs. Jules, he called, I'm stuck. Rondi and Allison giggled again. Mrs. Jules got angry. Joy, you're going home on the kindergarten bus today. Oh, good, said Todd. I'll have some company. Todd went home on the kindergarten bus every day. He could never seem to make it to 12 o'clock without getting in trouble 3 times. His name wasn't even up on the blackboard yet, but he knew that by 12 o'clock it'd be up, checked, and circled. Mrs. Jules, what am I going to do? I'm stuck. I'm going to have to stay here for the rest of my life, said Jason. Joy, you tell Jason you're sorry, said Mrs. Jules. I'm sorry, Jason, said Joy. That's okay, Joy, said Jason. I don't mind. Try to get up, Jason, said Mrs. Jules. Jason tried. I can't, Mrs. Jules. I'm stuck. Mrs. Jules asked the 3 Erics to help him out. Eric Fry and Eric Ovens pulled Jason, and Eric Bacon held the chair. Stop, cried Jason. You'll rip my pants. Rondi and Allison giggled. All right, said Mrs. Jules. Let's try ice water. That should freeze the gum and make it less sticky. I'll go get some from Miss Mush. Miss Mush was the lunch teacher at Wayside School. She had the remarkable ability to undercook a dish and overcook it at the same time. Her specialty was a nice hot bowl of mud, but she called it porridge. Jason looked at Rondi and Allison. No, Mrs. Jules, he said. Please don't leave me. Besides, Mrs. Mush's ice water is probably warm. Don't be silly, Jason, said Mrs. Jules. I'm sure it will be at least as cold as her soups. That's a shade. That's not in the book, but it's just a comment. Rondi and Allison leered at Jason. No, Mrs. Jules, don't go, begged Jason. I'll be right back, Jason. And she went to Miss Mush for some ice water. As soon as Mrs. Jules stepped out the door, Rondi and Allison jumped out of their seats and started to tickle Jason. He laughed until his hair turned purple. Well, that's one way to get your hair to turn purple without dyeing it. The girls got back in their seats just as Mrs. Jules returned. Mrs. Jules carried a big bucket of ice-cold water. Oh, no, please don't, no, Jason pleaded. We have no choice, said Mrs. Jules, and she threw the water all over him. Well, said Mrs. Jules, try and get up. Jason was drenched. I'm wet and I'm cold and I'm still stuck. Oh, well, it didn't work, said Mrs. Jules. At least we tried. Now I guess we'll have to cut your pants off. Rondi and Allison giggled. No, Mrs. Jules, no, screamed Jason. I don't mind if I'm stuck here. I'm really very comfortable. Don't be silly, Jason, said Mrs. Jules. Don't cut off my pants, said Jason. The 3 Erics will carry you to the bathroom, said Mrs. Jules. And I'll ask Louis to call your mother and she can bring you a new pair of pants. The 3 Erics took hold of Jason's chair and turned him upside down. No, Mrs. Jules, said Jason. Now I'll always have a place to sit down. I won't have to worry about finding a seat on the bus. The 3 Erics began to take him away. Wait, said Joy. Miss Jules, if I can get Jason unstuck, do I still have to go home on the kindergarten bus? All right, said Mrs. Jules. If you can somehow get Jason free, then you don't have to go home early. Don't trust her, Miss Jules, said Jason. He was still hanging upside down. I'll just kiss him, said Joy. No! Jason screamed. Don't let her kiss me, Mrs. Jules. Throw water on me, tickle me, cut off my pants, hang me upside down from the ceiling, but don't let her kiss me. I'll just kiss him on the nose, said Joy. We've got nothing to lose, Jason, said Mrs. Jules. Ooh, who would want to kiss Jason? Said Allison. Jason hung helplessly upside down. Joy stepped up and kissed him on the nose. Jason fell out of the chair and hit his head on the floor. Rondi and Allison giggled. Darn, said Todd. Now I'll have to go home alone again. And Joy erased her name from the blackboard. And that's the end of that chapter. But a little footnote from your Auntie Rachel here is don't kiss people without their consent. So if you say, I want to kiss you, and somebody says no, then the answer is no. And that has nothing to do with the book, but it's just an important lesson to learn, which is that you get to decide whether or not people kiss you, and if they kiss you without your consent, that's not okay. Okay, I love you very much, and have a good day. That was me kissing at you with consent.